Hello, hello, and welcome back to our new episode on You Are the Masterpiece podcast. If this is the first time you are tuning in, my name is Irina Portnova, and I am a manifestation star. Why? Because I manifested great things in my life, and I can teach you how to do it, enjoy and be effortless. And again, we are just discovering here that we are work in progress the same time as we are the masterpieces, because we do not have to be perfect as long as we are taking the effort. And today in the studio I have amazing guest Christi Kelsey. Christy, welcome, and just share a couple of words. What are you doing in this world?
Thanks, Irina. Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to be your guest today. I am a transformational macro coach, and I help women with their body composition goals, whether that's fat loss or building muscle, or even if they just want to have a better relationship with food.
I love it. I love it because today's topic is hot, healthy, and over 40. And I just love it, right? It doesn't matter. Age is just the number. And it's like for us to stay healthy and to stay beautiful. Just tell a couple of words. Why did you do what you are doing?
Well, it's sort of a long story, but I won't share all of it with you. But I've struggled with some pretty serious health issues over most of my life since I became an adult, and I had a sort of a mindset shift at one point where I just had this really great moment where I appreciated my body and appreciated what it had been through and its ability to heal and birth babies and, just keep going. And I want other women to feel that way as well. And so I became a nutrition coach so that I could help women, shift their mindset and the way they look at food.
I love it. So, can you just share a couple of words? Who are the people that want to work with you? Why they are coming to you, and what they want to achieve?
Yes. So, interestingly enough, most women come to me because they want fat loss. And when we start digging into their history of dieting, we often discover that they've been in a calorie deficit. They haven't been eating enough for years and years and years. And their metabolism has dropped down to meet that amount of calories that they're putting into their bodies so that their maintenance is what
Mhm.
they used to use as a diet. And so often we have to start off repairing their metabolism, building it up again. It's sort of like building a campfire. If you've ever built a campfire, and if you have this raging campfire and you take logs off of the fire's going to die down. And that's what our metabolism does. So what do we do to build up that fire again? We put more logs on it. We have to gradually introduce more calories to our diet to help our metabolism rev up again so that it will respond eventually to a calorie deficit. So I, you know, people come to me, like I said, for fat loss, but more times than not, we end up going through this reverse process to build up their metabolism first.
Mhm. So, you know what comes to me as you are sharing? A lot of people want something. How, like a lot of people can be on the diet, but
Mhm,
then it's easy to go back to the usual.
mhm.
How do you actually train your people to maintain their goal? How is
Mhm.
it happening? Because obviously, we are talking about there should be some kind of willpower. Like, take us
Mhm.
through the process. What is something that helped them?
Yes. So I teach nutrition via macronutrients. So we look at protein, carbs, fat, and then your overall calorie intake. And at first, there's a learning curve to that. we track what we're eating in an app like MyFitnessPal or Macros First. And we just see, how much are you eating? How much protein are you getting? And we build from there. I like to meet my clients where they are. Some come in, they've already been tracking, or they've never heard of macros at all. So I teach them from where they are. And then they often discover that they're not eating enough protein.
Mm-hmm.
As we get older, our bodies are less efficient with managing the protein in our bodies. And so we actually need to eat more protein to keep our lean muscle mass. Our lean muscle mass, as we age, starts to shrink. And that is what makes up our metabolism, or at least a large part of it is our lean muscle mass. And if we lose that, it's like taking logs off the fire, like I talked about before. So we want to eat enough protein so that our bodies can maintain the lean muscle mass that we have. And so if someone goes through a fat loss phase, we're tracking what they're eating, making sure they're getting enough protein, make sure they're doing the right kind of exercises. And then when they hit that goal, we go through the reverse diet process. And that is a piece of information that I think the diet industry has not brought to light for a long time. Because most people will just jump right back into eating how they were eating before, and they haven't really made any sustainable changes. They haven't learned anything to change how they're going to eat. This is the past, right? And now with macronutrients, they're educated on the amount of energy their body needs and the amount of protein that they need. They need fiber and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals from the whole foods that we eat. So they're educated on that now. And so at the end of their fat loss phase, we take them through a reverse diet, slowly bring up their calories again, and they don't gain the weight back. In the past, we would go on this short-term diet and eat foods that we're not used to, that we don't normally eat. And then as soon as we hit the goal, or as soon as we give up the diet, we jump right back into eating our processed foods and all the junk that we ate before. And so the fat inevitably comes back on.
So I hear what you're saying is, like once you follow the process, then it's all about maintaining, because basically it's not just, like having this on a short period of time. It's more like just changing your lifestyle.
Yes. And I also teach that there are seasons or a cycle with macro counting. We don't want to be in a calorie deficit for a long period of time, because then that fire burns down. So we go in for like 8 to 12 weeks. We lose a little bit of fat. We come out of it, and we really want to be eating at maintenance most of the time. So then we eat at maintenance for a while. Our metabolism's good and revved up. And then if we want to keep going, then we go into a calorie deficit again in, 3, 4, 5 months. So it's this cycle, so that, you're not losing all your weight all at once. You do it in cycles so that you can keep a healthy metabolism.
And when we talk about the period of time that clients are working with you, what is the average time frame when they can achieve what they want?
Well, I usually work with them for 2 or 3 months, sometimes a little bit longer. I found that my clients will get to a point where they're really comfortable doing what they're doing, and they know how to get that protein in their diets. They know how to track their food, and they really don't need my coaching anymore. It's a short-term thing. I've had people come to me asking for coaching, like they know what to do, but they just need someone to be accountable to.
Absolutely.
And that's great, but why should you be accountable to me your whole life? Let's get you to a point where you can be accountable to yourself. And that is like at the core of my experience and what I want women to walk away with. Like, that moment where I felt this appreciation for my body, that
Mm-hmm.
changed everything for me. I had,
Mm-hmm.
in 2020, in the middle of the lockdown, I was diagnosed with colon cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to go have a surgery, and it was an awful recovery. It took me at least a month to, feel good after the surgery. And I had to go in and follow up with a colonoscopy, and they found that they didn't get everything.
Mm.
So I had to do the surgery again. And at this point, I knew what I was getting into, and I knew what the recovery was going to be like. And I was scared. I was nervous. I was disappointed. I was, all these emotions, and it was
Mhm.
the night before my surgery where I just had this epiphany of, my body healed from this surgery last time. I've had 3 C-sections and brought 3 healthy babies into the world. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I've had rheumatoid arthritis since my early 20s.
Mm.
And when that first came on, if you would have told me that when I was 50 years old, I would be a nutrition coach and I would be lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week, I would have
Mm.
told you were crazy, because I could barely walk from my bed to the bathroom. I was in so
Wow.
much pain. And so, at this night before my surgery, I just, it was kind of like my life was flashing before my eyes, and I remembered all these experiences. And our body is with us our whole entire life, and we need to take care of it. Nobody's going to take care of our body like we can.
Mhm.
And when we come from a place of love for that body rather
Mhm.
than shame or disappointment or frustration, it's a whole different experience.
Mhm. Oh my God, such a powerful story. So, it just, like to show the people that even any diagnosis that we have, we can heal,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the most important. So when we talk about just, like staying in shape, it
Mhm.
also has something to do with the health, right? Can you just share a couple of points? Why is it important to maintain the healthy weight?
Yeah, so, if you're overweight, you probably experience, um, heart heart issues. Maybe you can't breathe as well. You probably have pain in your joints and in your limbs. Being overweight, it can cause all kinds of problems. And, it's not just being overweight, it's the kind of foods that we're eating. We are so used to eating highly processed foods that
Mhm.
are stripped of key nutrients that our bodies and our cells need. Like, our cells really need fruits and vegetables with
Mhm.
those vitamins and minerals. We need the protein. Our bodies are just, screaming for that. And and a lot of, there's a lot of information out there now about how the foods we eat, our gut microbiome is the source of a lot of our illnesses that we have nowadays. And
Mhm.
so, that's one thing that I have been trying to personally work on, is eating more fruits and vegetables, eating more whole foods. I've always been pretty good at that, especially with having children. I want them to be healthy, and oftentimes that's where it starts, is we have someone else that we love and we wanna make sure that they're healthy,
Mhm.
and so we start making these changes. But, um, yeah, our bodies really need those nutrients to have a healthy system. And when we're not getting enough of those,
Um,
micronutrients, it really does start to affect our cell health, which then, multiply that by the millions of cells you have in your body, and things start to break down if you're not getting the nutrients you need.
mhm. I love what you share. Can you just say, like, like take us through a couple of steps? Like, if somebody just watching us, they
Mhm.
just, thinking about, okay, I want to be heart healthy and over
Mhm.
40. What is like the first step for them to do?
So, the first step I suggest to my clients is just start tracking what you eat. You don't have to do this forever. Some people do not like tracking and they have a strong resistance against
Mm-hmm.
doing it. But just see where you are. See where you are with your calories and your protein. And then, if you're getting below 100 grams of protein, you need to eat more protein.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to get it up to 100 and start there. Um, the breakfast is usually the hardest meal for people to get protein in. So I guess that would be my next step is if you're having a bowl of cereal every day for breakfast, let's see how we can get some protein in your morning, because that will
Mm-hmm.
make a big difference. I have a lot of clients come to me who have a really hard time with their snacking in the afternoon. And when we start looking at what they're eating, they're skipping breakfast, or they're having a very high carb breakfast, or they're not eating enough for breakfast. And
Mm-hmm.
so by the afternoon, their body is pulling all the levers. Feed me, feed me, feed me. I haven't had enough protein. I haven't had enough nutrients. And so it turns on those craving triggers. And then we go to things that are quick energy, like the chips and the candy bars and the pretzels or whatever, the high carb, high processed foods, because our body is craving so much to have energy. So you'll probably find that if you start your day off with, 25 to 30 grams of protein, your snacking is going to cut way down in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So, can you talk a little bit about the water? I know that water intake is also very important.
It is. It is. Our body is like, I don't know, somewhere like 80 to
Mm-hmm.
90% water. And I have found that just drinking water, plain straight water all day long, is not enough, because you're going to find that you're using the bathroom all the time. And when
Mm-hmm.
the water goes through it, it takes out some of the minerals and, essential vitamins that we need. So I try to have, once a day, some electrolyte. I use a little powder that I just add to my water bottle, and that helps your cells actually absorb the water. But I usually recommend people drinking half their body weight in ounces of water. So, like if you weighed 160 pounds, that would be 80 ounces of water.
Mm-hmm. That's a great tip. All right. So, we are talking about like healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. What can you add in terms of the exercises?
Mm-hmm. So, I talked about the lean muscle mass. And in order to keep that up, if you're in a calorie deficit or even build muscle, we need to be lifting heavy weights. I went years and years and years doing group exercise classes, and I'd always go for the 5-pound weights. And then I'd go home and pick up my 30-pound kid.
Mhm.
So if you can pick up a 30-pound kid, you can pick up heavier weights than 5-pound weights. And so our bodies will respond really well to lifting heavy. And I know for some people that feels really scary to get into a gym where there's usually lots of men, but I I I can promise you nobody is paying any attention to anybody but themselves. Um, and it's just, if you're worried, just get in there and learn a few machines, do some bicep curls, and then come back another time and learn something else new. And each time you go, learn a new machine or try out a new exercise. And then once you've got that figured out, then you can do a program where maybe do upper body one day, lower body the next day, because you really need to be using progressive overload, which is doing a little bit more each week, whether it's more reps or increasing your weight size.
Mm-hmm. You know what it comes to me, because I'm all about manifestation.
Mhm.
And when we talk about manifestation, we talk about energy, right? So
Mhm.
the idea is when we are in the resistance, there
Mhm.
is nothing that make us do what we do not want to do. For instance, I'm not a gym person whatsoever.
Mhm.
And if you talk to me about the weights and the gym, is just, like I have more resistance even just talking about it. So what I actually, connected with myself, and we all have the answers inside of us. And actually, that's how I teach people to connect with ourselves. So what I connected with myself, and I started to ask myself the deeper questions: what is some of the activities, of the physical activities that I can do that I truly enjoy?
Mhm.
And I love dancing. So
Mhm.
this is something for me that I know I can move my body on a daily
Mhm.
basis, and this is something that gives me the joy.
Mhm.
And I also do the hula hoop,
Mhm.
which, like the weighted hula hoop. This
Mhm.
is something that, like I committed on a daily basis to
Mhm.
do. And this is something that does not feel very, like resistant for me, because again, we do not have to do something that is hard for us, that is something to push ourselves. Although the society was teaching us that you gotta do what you gotta do, it doesn't have to be this way. So
Mhm.
for anybody who is tuning in, if the gym is not your jam,
Mhm.
just listening to the tips that I'm giving to you, just
Mhm.
connect with something. Maybe it's just, strolling, walking, jogging, maybe, just being outside in the nature. The idea is just stay active, move your body, and
Mhm.
do the best what you can.
Yeah, I agree with you. I Even going for a walk after your meals
Mm-hmm.
is huge. That
Mm-hmm.
helps with blood sugar regulation. So I guess that's another tip I would leave is, if
Mm-hmm.
you're not a big exerciser, just go for a 10 or
Mm-hmm.
20-minute walk after your biggest meal of the day, and that's going to make a big difference for you.
Absolutely. And also, like when the summer comes, right? All
Mhm.
these activities in the nature, and I love swimming as well. So
Mhm.
swimming is also a great
Mhm.
way to stay in shape and have your, physical activities. So again, it's up to you what everybody is choosing, right? But the idea is just stay active and continue enjoying the life, right? Because it doesn't have to be miserable.
Yeah.
Because if we are pushed to do something we do not like, it's like, another item that we are adding on our list as to-do list rather than to be list.
Mhm.
And, like we all can connect to that side of ourselves. Okay, what is something I enjoy doing? And just do more of it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And another thing that if you're not a big gym person, there's a lot you can do at home without any equipment. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of body weight exercises you can do at
Mm-hmm.
home, like push-ups, sit-ups, things like that. Use a chair to do squats and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Yes, awesome, awesome. So, any Christy last tips that you want to leave the audience with?
Well, I loved what you said about getting outside because
Mhm.
another piece of the puzzle is our stress levels.
Mhm.
If we have a lot of stress in our lives. We could be doing everything right with our calorie counting, our protein, our exercise. If our cortisol levels are really high, our body is not going to release that fat. It's going to hold on
Mhm.
to it to protect us. So I love that. And journaling is huge. Write down, what you're thinking about, what's going on in your life, or when I'm coaching somebody, I like to give them questions to answer that are specific to what they're going
Mhm.
through in the moment. But whatever you're going through in the moment, take a little time to do that meditation or breathing
Mhm.
or stuff that helps bring your stress down a little bit.
Mhm. I love it. So be more mindful, right?
Mhm,
Be
mhm,
more mindful, be more present, and that's how things start showing up for us the way that we desire them.
mhm.
Thank you so much, Christy. I know you added a lot of value to this interview. And for everybody who wants to connect with you, there is the Instagram link, and they can connect with you. And I guess they can DM you if they
Yes.
want to explore it any further. And again, for everybody, it's just, like take care of yourself the best way you can, and just remember, you are the masterpiece and the work in progress in the same time. Just do something, and you'll see that you are changing your life every day in every way. Thanks so much, Christy, and
Thank
for
you.
everybody. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.